want to tell you a story. It's a story you may think you know, but you don't.
Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're discussing how stop-motion movies like Pinocchio are made.
Terry, Python, Gilliam. Terry, what advice do you have for people out there who want to make film animations?
For this list, we're doing a deep dive into the animation technique that brought Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio to life, exploring its history, various forms, and how you can make your own stop-motion films. What's your favorite stop-motion movie? Let us know in the comments. Be it hand-drawn or CG, animation is a drawn-out process no matter what technique you utilize. Stop-motion may be the most grueling though, as there are so many factors that can go wrong as filmmakers spend hours upon hours moving models frame by frame just to create a few seconds of animation. Before we get into that though, let's go back to the beginning. History of the industry.
The whole point of animation to me is to tell a story, make a joke, express an idea.
Of course, it's debatable when stop-motion began, with many silent-era films lost. 1908's The Humpty Dumpty Circus being one. Albert E. Smith made the stop-motion short using his daughter's wooden circus toys. Some believe this was the first stop-motion animated film, although it's hard to say without any existing copies. The oldest surviving animated feature is 1926's The Adventures of Prince Ahmed, which used a form of stop-motion called silhouette or cutout animation. Although it doesn't use 3D models like Pinocchio, silhouette animation applies a similar technique as cutouts are moved frame by frame, each being photographed. This process was previously used in the lost 1917 feature El Apostol, and later surfaced in projects like Fantastic Planet, Monty Python, and the South Park pilot.
When all of a sudden this bright blue light filled the room, and then slowly my bedroom door began to open.
As for puppet animation, you could call George Pal the definitive puppet pal. Born in Hungary before immigrating to the States, Pal created the Puppet Toon series. Unlike some other forms of stop-motion, which use the same models, Puppetoons utilized replacement animation where a different puppet was carved for every frame. This could amount to 9,000 puppets for one short.
They all played.
Outside of shorts, stop-motion was primarily used as a special effect in live-action projects during the early days. Pixelation essentially turned humans and everyday objects into puppets, as seen in 1908's Hôtel Électrique, where hairbrushes and other items were manipulated frame by frame to create the illusion of life. When it came to stop-motion creatures, though, few were more pioneering than Willis H. O'Brien. O'Brien brought a sense of realism to his stop-motion effects, which were integrated into live-action films like The Lost World and King Kong. He mentored other stop-motion giants like Pete Peterson and, most notably, Ray Harryhausen. Best known for the skeleton battle in Jason and the Argonauts, Harryhausen innovated Dynamation, a split-screen technique where the live-action footage is shot first, with the stop-motion creatures added later, seamlessly blending the two. Phil Tippett was among the many artists inspired by Harryhausen. Tippett took stop-motion to the next level with Go Motion, which used computer technology and hands-on manipulation to achieve a less choppy motion blur effect. Tippett's Go Motion expertise can be seen in films like The Empire Strikes Back, Dragon Slayer, and RoboCop.
I had to kill Bob Morton because he made a mistake. Now it's time to erase that mistake.
Tippett was set to provide Go Motion for Jurassic Park until Steven Spielberg saw the CG tests. While he remained on board to perfect the dinosaur movements, Tippett feared he may be extinct, inspiring this classic line.
We're out of a job. Don't you mean extinct?
CG was on the rise, but stop motion wasn't extinct. That same year saw the release of The Nightmare Before Christmas.
What's this? I can't believe my eyes. I must be dreaming. Wake up, Jack. This isn't fair. What's this?
Although there had been other stop-motion features, none had exploded into a cultural phenomenon like Nightmare. It was also a significant step up in the technical department, becoming the first animated film to receive a Best Visual Effects Oscar nomination.
Old Man Jack is king of the pumpkin patch. Everyone hail to the pumpkin king now.
The Oscar went to Jurassic Park, but Nightmare gave stop-motion a second life, paving the way for other features like Aardman's Chicken Run, Laika's Coraline, and Del Toro's Pinocchio.
Hello?
The wooden boy with the borrowed soul.
Other forms of stop motion. Stop motion goes by various other names. Visionaries like Nick Park specialize in clay animation, creating plasticine heroes like Wallace and Gromit.
I'll have that if you don't mind, eh?
Will Vinton would trademark the term claymation, winning an Oscar for his 1974 short Closed Mondays. A few years later, the Oscar would go to Ko Hodeman's The Sandcastle. This 1977 short rose to life through sand animation, where foam rubber figures were covered in sand. Vinton would also eventually switch out his clay figures for foam ones, coining the phrase foamation.
Tell you what, first thing in the morning, I want you to grab that wrench I gave you and meet me down in the boiler room.
For a period, the biggest names in stop motion were Arthur Rankin Jr. and Jules Bass. The pair became synonymous with Christmas with 1964's Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Rudolph! Christmas is not off, and you're going to lead my team.
Incidentally, stop motion became synonymous with Christmas until Nightmare Before Christmas made stop motion synonymous with Halloween. Rankin Bass dubbed their animation progress Animagic. You could argue that's just a more whimsical way of saying stop motion, but Rankin Bass's Animagic figures had a toy-like quality that couldn't be mistaken for any other studio.
A scooter for Jimmy,
a dolly for Sue,
the kind that will even say,
how do you do?
Stop motion has also played a major role in brick film, movies made with Lego bricks and figurines. The first brick film can be traced back to 1973's Journey to the Moon, which was shot on a Super 8 camera. Brick films became even more prominent with the rise of digital cameras and the internet.
We do routines and all the scenes with footwork and back cable. We dine well here in Camelot. We eat ham and jam and spam.
Brick films aren't strictly made using stop motion, as seen in 2014's The Lego Movie. Yet even that CG film style recreated the look and movements of a traditional brick film.
What the heck is this? I am a master builder!
Okay, that's your crash course on stop motion's background. Now let's get into how you can make a movie like Pinocchio.
You may have no strings, but I control you.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. What's needed? You'll require a digital camera, be it a professional one or your smartphone, a tripod to keep it steady, and editing software to merge each frame into a flowing sequence. Constructing the characters is where things get complicated.
Which was hand sculpted in clay and then cast, and eventually he became a silicon puppet.
Some character designs are simplistic. Robert Benfer's Clay World characters were essentially blue blobs. Morph and Gumby are slightly more sophisticated, as they have faces and mouth movements.
As long as you are near, there's no need to fear, and I won't back down.
The most expressive stop-motion characters, though, require more than one puppet. For example, Jack Skellington had nearly 400 replaceable heads. For Pinocchio, different sizes were required for when the titular character interacts with the cricket. Also, unless the character's clothing is molded onto their body, be prepared to knit a lot of little outfits.
Jack, please listen to me. It's going to be a disaster.
How could it be? Just follow the pattern. This part's red. The trim is white.
Your characters need to be able to fit within the setting you build, which should take up the entire frame.
There is an optimal size for a puppet. It's around about 12, 13 inches. That's a good size.
While the environment is largely practical, green screen comes in handy for background details like rain and more complex shots. Green screen can also be used for editing out rigs, wires, and other tools you may need to help manipulate the puppet. Maintaining consistent lighting is essential as well, so stay out of natural light. Audiences will notice if the sun is shining down in one shot and it's pitch black in another. Keeping the camera situated in place is equally important, as even the slightest shift can shatter the illusion.
When you're playing it back at speed, you're going to notice that, and that sometimes is a shot killer.
Now it's time for arguably the most meticulous part, bringing the characters to life. Whether a character is walking across the street or standing in place talking, manipulating them one frame at a time isn't an overnight process. About 12 frames can add up to roughly a second of film. If you're lucky, you'll have a minute's worth of animation by the week's end. And that's with a crew.
Stupid Buddy Studios has 225 employees, 40 miniature sound stages, a workshop that handcrafts all the puppets, and even a wardrobe department that creates tiny costumes with minute detail.
Between gradually moving the characters and taking pictures, you need to keep an eye out for the slightest inconsistency, be it a prop that's been accidentally moved, a change in lighting, or a fingerprint left behind. Once a sequence is shot, edit the images together. Assuming this isn't a silent short, you'll also need to match the movements with the voiceovers, which you should record before shooting anything.
It's painstakingly slow, but the result is so good.
Okay, so maybe your first crack at making a stop-motion movie isn't going to be as polished as a $35 million feature like Del Toro's Pinocchio. Even if you can produce 5 to 10 seconds of animation in a day, though, you may have what it takes to be a stop-motion animator.
Ah, we have found him, our star!
Above all else, you'll require those 3 Ps: passion, perseverance, and patience. After a while, the character you've been carefully moving around might start to feel like less of a puppet and more like an extension of yourself. Once you've spent a day in a stop-motion animator's shoes, you'll never look at the craft the same way. Be it a complex action set piece or a seemingly simple gesture like Pinocchio's nose growing.
I'm a real boy!
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from MsMojo. And be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.